What if a millionaire's unexpected act changed a homeless girl's life forever? One shocking moment in a quiet mansion turned everything upside down. The mansion was so quiet you could hear the curtains shift in the breeze from the air vents. A 14-bedroom estate, 3 floors high, wrapped in golden light and silence. It stood like a palace, spotless, perfect, untouchable. But somewhere on the second floor, beyond the velvet walls and crystal sconces, a little girl was screaming. And no one came. The glossy mansion gleamed under golden light, its 14 bedrooms a fortress of silence, the medium dark brown curtains shifting with glossy air vents, the emotional tension thick. At its heart, a princess-style room hid 6-year-old Zuri, her medium dark brown skin streaked with tears, her glossy brown curls tangled as she clutched her stuffed bunny. Terrified, "Help!" she screamed, her glossy brown voice piercing, the glossy velvet walls muffling her cries, the suspense building in the untouchable palace. No one responded, chef, groundskeeper, tutor, or assistant absent, the glossy crystal sconces casting shadows, the emotional isolation stark. Clara, the housekeeper with fair skin, had cleared the staff, her glossy white blouse crisp, her navy maid's dress authoritative, her glossy brown hands holding power. Cold, they'll obey, she muttered, the emotional control her goal, the glossy mansion a stage for her dominance, the quiet a mask for her intent. In the glossy bedroom, Zuri sat on the edge of her velvet comforter, her medium dark brown skin glistening with tears, her glossy brown eyes wide with fear, her elegant hands gripping her bunny. Clara loomed, her fair skin flushed with rage, her glossy brown voice sharp. Furious. "You spoiled brat," she shouted, her glossy finger jabbing Zuri's tiny chest, the emotional abuse cutting deep. Sobbing, "I just wanted daddy," Zuri whimpered, her glossy brown curls shaking, the suspense intensifying. Clara's glossy brown eyes narrowed, her fair skin taut. "Hateful, you're a charity case," she hissed, the emotional venom poisoning the air, the glossy velvet room a prison. Zuri's glossy brown legs dangled, her heels off the carpet, her cries echoing, the emotional stakes rising. The glossy mansion held its silence, the suspense of her isolation growing, Clara's control a dark shadow over the child's fragile hope. Unseen, Jamal Henley, a millionaire with fair skin, stepped into the glossy mansion, his glossy gray suit impeccable, his elegant hands holding a gift bag from Italy, the emotional surprise for Zuri warm in his heart. His flight landed early, his glossy brown hair neat, the glossy marble tile underfoot a welcome. "Happy, she'll love this," he murmured, the emotional bond with his adopted daughter strong, the glossy entrance a threshold to joy, until a cry stopped him. The glossy spiral staircase echoed his hurried steps, his fair skin paling at Zuri's piercing scream, the emotional panic surging. Alarmed, "Zuri!" he gasped, the glossy hallway leading to her room, the suspense peaking. He saw her, medium dark brown skin tear-streaked, glossy brown curls disheveled, Clara's glossy brown hands raised in rage, the emotional shock freezing him, the glossy mansion now a battleground for justice. Jamal stood in the glossy doorway, his fair skin drained, his glossy gray suit tense, his elegant hands clenched as Zuri sobbed, "Daddy!" and ran to him, her medium dark brown skin trembling in his arms. Relieved, "You're here," she whispered, the emotional reunion breaking the silence, the glossy velvet room a witness. Clara, her fair skin paling, stammered, "Mr. Henley, I was calming her," her glossy brown voice faltering, the suspense shattering. His glossy brown eyes burned with fury, his fair skin taut. "Cold, explain," he demanded, the emotional weight of Zuri's fear fueling him, the glossy crystal sconces dimming. Zuri clung tighter, her glossy brown curls against his chest, her sobs softening, the emotional stakes high. He pressed the intercom, his glossy brown voice steady. "Brent, remove her," the glossy mansion's silence returning, the confrontation a turning point in their lives. But after the bedroom door closed, after the hallway emptied, and silence returned, The weight of what had just happened hit Jamal like a flood. Zuri sat on his lap, her head resting on his shoulder. Her eyes were red and puffy. She was quiet now, not because she was calm, but because she was worn out. Afraid. Small. He held her tighter. The glossy mansion fell silent as Brent, with glossy brown skin, escorted Clara out, her fair skin pale, her glossy navy dress trailing, the emotional tension thick. Jamal, his fair skin taut, stood in the glossy hallway, his glossy gray suit wrinkled, his elegant hands trembling with rage, the glossy marble tile echoing her departure. "Cold, she's gone," Brent murmured, his glossy brown voice steady, the emotional relief fleeting. The glossy crystal sconces dimmed, the suspense of her exit lingering, the staff whispering below. Zuri, her medium dark brown skin pressed against Jamal, her glossy brown curls damp with tears, clung to him, the emotional aftermath raw. The glossy bedroom door closed, the glossy velvet comforter a witness, the emotional weight of Clara's cruelty fading but not forgotten. Relieved, "She's safe," Jamal whispered, the glossy mansion a hollow victory, the suspense of rebuilding trust beginning, the glossy night a shroud over their pain. In the glossy bedroom, Zuri sat on Jamal's lap, her medium dark brown skin glistening with dried tears, her glossy brown eyes red and puffy, her elegant hands clutching her bunny. At 6, her glossy brown curls framed a face worn by fear, the emotional trauma deep. "Quiet, she hurt me," she whispered, her glossy brown voice small, the glossy velvet comforter a fragile refuge. Jamal's fair skin paled, his glossy brown eyes filling with guilt, the emotional stakes high. Her tiny body trembled, her glossy brown legs curled up, the emotional scars from Clara's words. "You don't belong," echoing, the suspense of her healing uncertain. "Soothing, you're mine," Jamal murmured, his glossy gray suit a shield, the emotional bond tested. The glossy mansion's silence amplified her quiet sobs, the glossy crystal sconces casting shadows, the trauma a wound only love could mend, the glossy night holding their fragile hope. Jamal held Zuri tighter, his fair skin warm against her medium dark brown skin, his glossy gray hair disheveled, his elegant hands stroking her glossy brown curls. "Guilty. I failed you," he whispered, his glossy brown voice breaking, the emotional flood of responsibility crashing over him. The glossy bedroom's velvet walls closed in, the glossy marble tile a reminder of his absence, the suspense of his regret profound. He recalled her adoption, her homeless past, her glossy brown belly once starved, now betrayed under his roof. His glossy brown eyes burned with self-reproach, his fair skin taut as he vowed, determined, never again, the emotional shift from wealth to protection stark. The glossy mansion, once a symbol of power, felt empty, the glossy crystal sconces mocking his oversight, the suspense of rebuilding trust weighing on him. The glossy night deepened his guilt, the emotional journey to redemption just beginning, Zuri's trust a fragile thread. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, his throat thick. "I should have been here. I should have seen it." She didn't respond. Her fingers clung to the collar of his shirt like a child afraid to let go. He wiped her face gently. "You don't have to be scared anymore. You hear me?" Zuri finally whispered. She said, "You wouldn't believe me. That if I told you, you'd send me back." Jamal's chest tightened. His heart cracked right there. "I would never send you away," he said, his voice low and broken. "You're my daughter, Zuri. No matter what." Her lips trembled. "She said I didn't belong here." He closed his eyes, held back the burn behind them. "You belong more than anyone," he said. "You belong because I chose you. Because I love you." The next morning, the staff returned to find Jamal had already been up for hours. He met with every one of them in person. He didn't yell. He didn't assign blame. But he made one thing clear. Anyone who saw, heard, or suspected mistreatment and stayed silent would no longer work in his home. The glossy mansion buzzed as staff with medium dark brown skin returned, their glossy brown hands clutching trays, the emotional tension palpable. Jamal, his fair skin resolute, his glossy gray suit pressed, stood in the glossy foyer, his elegant hands gesturing with authority. Firm. No more silence, he said, his glossy brown voice steady, the emotional shift from guilt to action clear. 2 staff resigned, their glossy brown faces ashamed, the glossy marble tile a stage for accountability. He installed a new rotation, his glossy brown eyes scanning candidates, educators and caregivers with glossy brown skin, their elegant hands vetted for trust. Determined, Zuri's safety first, he murmured, the emotional overhaul a fortress, the glossy crystal sconces reflecting his resolve. The glossy mansion transformed, the suspense of a safer home building, the glossy night a witness to his protective vow, the staff's glossy brown uniforms a symbol of renewal. In the glossy bedroom, Zuri sat on her velvet comforter, her medium dark brown skin soft under the light, her glossy brown curls neatening, her elegant hands holding her bunny. At 6, her glossy brown eyes flickered with hope, the emotional trauma easing as Jamal sat beside her, his fair skin warm. Gentle. We'll heal, he whispered, his glossy brown voice soothing, the glossy velvet a safe haven. Her glossy brown legs relaxed, the emotional scars fading slowly. A therapist arrived, her glossy brown skin radiant, her elegant hands offering comfort, the glossy mansion a space for recovery. Calm, you're safe, she said, the emotional bond forming, the suspense of healing unfolding. Zuri's glossy brown face softened, her sobs replaced by quiet trust, the glossy crystal sconces casting a gentle glow, the glossy night holding the promise of peace, her journey to wholeness beginning. Angela entered, her medium dark brown skin glowing, her glossy brown hair tied back, her elegant hands carrying files from trauma-based foster care. Jamal, his fair skin eased, his glossy gray suit relaxed, welcomed her in the glossy study, the emotional hope rising. Confident. She'll help, he said, his glossy brown voice firm, the glossy wooden desk a symbol of trust. Angela's glossy brown eyes met Zuri's, the emotional connection instant, the suspense of recovery deepening. She sat with Zuri, her glossy brown hands guiding play, the glossy mansion's silence now warm, the emotional healing guided by expertise. Reassuring. We'll take it slow, Angela murmured, the glossy velvet room a sanctuary, the glossy crystal sconces reflecting their bond. The staff with glossy brown skin nodded approval, the glossy night embracing this new chapter, Angela's presence a beacon for Zuri's fragile trust. 2 people resigned that day. 3 others apologized in tears. But Jamal wasn't done. He installed a new staff rotation, one that kept 2 adults assigned to Zuri at all times. But not just maids. Educators. A licensed therapist. A woman named Angela who had worked with children from trauma-based foster care and came with glowing references. Most importantly, he changed himself. He canceled his next 2 business trips. Cleared his weekends. He started picking Zuri up from her afternoon classes himself, sometimes just to hold her hand on the walk back from the garden. He didn't try to fix things overnight. But he showed up. Again and again. In the glossy mansion's garden, Zuri skipped, her medium dark brown skin glowing under the sun, her glossy brown curls bouncing, her elegant hands holding Angela's. At 6, her glossy brown eyes sparkled with tentative joy, the emotional healing deepening, the glossy green leaves a backdrop. Happy? Look, she giggled, her glossy brown voice light, the trauma fading as Angela, her glossy brown skin warm, smiled. Encouraging, you're strong, Angela said, the emotional bond growing, the glossy mansion a sanctuary. Her glossy brown legs steadied, her glossy brown face less shadowed, the emotional scars from Clara's cruelty mending with each laugh, the suspense of recovery resolving. Jamal, his fair skin eased, watched from the glossy porch, his glossy gray suit relaxed, the emotional pride swelling. The glossy crystal sconces inside reflected her progress, the glossy night holding her newfound peace, Zuri's recovery a testament to love. Jamal adjusted his glossy gray suit, his fair skin bright with purpose, his elegant hands opening his schedule, canceling trips with a glossy pen. Committed. She's my priority, he murmured, his glossy brown voice firm, the emotional shift from work to family clear. He picked Zuri up from class, her medium dark brown skin radiant, her glossy brown curls neat, their glossy brown hands clasped on the walk back, the emotional bond strengthening. The glossy garden bloomed with their steps. Weekends filled with glossy brown laughter, his glossy gray hair catching light as he played, the emotional presence a balm, the glossy mansion echoing with joy. Content. This is home, he whispered, the suspense of his transformation fading, the glossy crystal sconces a witness. The staff with glossy brown skin smiled, the glossy night embracing his routine, a father's love reshaping their world. At a glossy charity event, Jamal stood tall, his fair skin confident, his glossy gray suit impeccable, his elegant hands holding a microphone. Proud. I'm here for Zuri, he announced, the emotional declaration resonating, the glossy brown crowd murmuring. Zuri, her medium dark brown skin shining, her glossy brown curls framed by a new dress, stood beside him, the suspense of his commitment building. Brave, she's my daughter, he said, the emotional weight profound. He donated millions, his glossy brown eyes fierce, the glossy mansion's wealth now a tool for child protection, the emotional gesture a public vow. The audience with glossy brown faces applauded, the glossy crystal chandeliers reflecting hope, the suspense resolving into action. Angela, her glossy brown skin radiant, nodded approval, the glossy night cementing his promise, the gesture a beacon for Zuri's future. One night, weeks later, Jamal tucked Zuri into bed. The bruises inside her had faded some. She laughed a little more now, asked more questions. She still clung to her stuffed bunny, but now, she slept with the lights off. As he pulled the blanket up to her chin, she looked up at him and asked quietly, "You're not going to leave again, right?" He leaned down, kissed her forehead. "Not unless you come with me," he smiled. "Deal." She nodded. Then, just as he reached the door, her voice stopped him again. "Daddy." "Yes, baby. Thank you for hearing me." His hand lingered on the light switch. He didn't turn it off. Instead, he walked back, sat beside her, and whispered, "I'll always hear you, even when you don't speak." In the glossy bedroom, Zuri lay under her velvet comforter, her medium dark brown skin radiant, her glossy brown curls splayed, her elegant hands clutching her bunny with ease. At 6, her glossy brown eyes met Jamal's, the emotional trust reborn, the glossy crystal sconces casting a soft glow. "Grateful you stayed," she whispered, her glossy brown voice steady, the trauma's shadow lifting. Jamal, his fair skin warm, his glossy gray suit softened, smiled. "Loving, always," he replied, the emotional bond sealed. Her glossy brown legs stretched comfortably, her glossy brown face alight with confidence, the emotional healing complete, the suspense of her fear dissolving. Angela, her glossy brown skin glowing, nodded from the doorway, the glossy mansion a haven, the glossy night embracing their connection. Zuri's trust, once shattered, now flourished, the glossy velvet room a testament to their journey, her heart secure. The glossy mansion transformed, its fair walls echoing with glossy brown laughter, the medium dark brown skin of staff and children glowing, the emotional warmth replacing silence. Jamal, his glossy gray hair silvering, his elegant hands guiding play, stood as its heart, the glossy marble tile a stage for joy. "Proud, this is home," he said, his glossy brown voice resonant, the emotional shift profound. The glossy crystal chandeliers refracted happiness, the suspense of its cold past gone. Zuri's glossy brown curls danced as she led games, her medium dark brown skin shining, the emotional legacy of her adoption a beacon, the glossy garden blooming with life. The staff with glossy brown skin smiled, their elegant hands serving with care, the glossy knight holding a new family spirit. The mansion, once a palace of wealth, now pulsed with love, the emotional heart beating strong. Years later, the glossy mansion hosted a celebration, its fair walls adorned with Zuri's art, her medium dark brown skin radiant at 16, her glossy brown curls elegant. Jamal, his glossy gray hair fully silver, his elegant hands holding hers, spoke softly, emotional, "You made me a father," his glossy brown voice thick, the moral lesson clear, presence heals. Moral lesson of the story. True protection comes from love and listening. Zuri, her glossy brown eyes wise, smiled. Loving, "Thank you, Daddy," she said, the emotional bond eternal. The staff with glossy brown skin joined, their medium dark brown faces alight, the glossy crystal chandeliers reflecting unity. Angela, her glossy brown hair streaked with gray, nodded proudly, the glossy knight embracing their family. Zuri placed a glossy photo of her homeless past beside a sunflower, the glossy brown frame a tribute to her journey, the story ending with hope, the glossy mansion a home of love, inspiring all who entered. What a beautiful bond! Would you stand by Zuri's side? Hit that like button, subscribe for more heartfelt stories, and tell us in the comments, where in the world are you rooting from? We